Hi guys, welcome to our channel Humpty Dumpty 2. If you are planning for Canada PR, then it is very important that you need to get all your education certificates assessed by an authorized organization. So in today's video, we will be talking about ECA, which is Education Credential Assessment, that you need to get done as a very first and foremost step when you apply for Canada PR. So there are three organizations primarily which people get confused between: CES, WES and IQAS. So WES is World Education Services, CES is Comprehensive Education Services, IQAS is International Qualification Assessment Services. So if you are one of those who is confused which ECA organization should you go ahead with for your transcripts, for your education assessment, then this is the video for you. So guys, stick till the end so that you don't miss on any point, and this will be very helpful for you to understand and pick one organization for yourself as per your criterion or conditions. So guys, before we start, make sure you click on the subscribe button so that you're subscribed to our channel and you get all the notifications of our videos. We create videos on Canada PR, specifically how our journey had been in this process, what are the major important steps that you need to consider while you are filing for your own application. So don't forget to click on the subscribe button. Let's get started. Let me give you a brief idea on what we will be talking about today so that you know what are the major points that we will be discussing and which will be helpful for you to decide the organization for yourself. So the first point will be the latest application process for each of the organization, WES, CES and IQAS. Second, we will talk about timelines, specifically due to COVID situation in 2020 for each of the organization. Third, we will look at the fee structure. Fourth, we will talk about how your university is recognized by these organizations. Fifth, and the most important, which will help you to take the final decision, is how will you decide which organization should you go ahead with. Okay, so the first point is, what is the latest application process of all these three organizations? So let me give you a brief background. So before 2020, in 2019, all of these organizations were following same process, wherein a candidate was supposed to collect all the transcripts from their respective universities, put all the transcripts collectively in an envelope and send to the respective ECA organization. But now the process has changed specifically for WES. Now what WES asks is, a candidate cannot send their own transcripts. Instead, they will have to ask their universities for bachelor's or master's, whatever degree it is, and the university will only send the transcript to the WES organization. So WES organization will not accept your transcripts if you send it by yourself. So this is the change in the process. This is only for WES. And for IQAS and CES, process remains the same. You can collect all your transcripts and send it to the IQAS or CES organization, whichever you're going ahead with. So this is one of the major important change that was introduced in 2020, early 2020 for WES. So if you are someone and you know that your graduation or post-graduation university is not really entertaining in sending these transcripts directly to WES, then I think you should go ahead with the other two organizations, which are going to be CES and IQAS. It is going to be very difficult for you to talk to your academic department of your university and convince them to send it to WES. Instead, you can opt for an organization who are accepting the transcripts which you can send by yourself. So this is one important point. Second point is timelines, specifically in 2020 due to COVID. So guys, if I talk about the timeline that is mentioned on the organization's website, for example, if I talk about WES, they have clearly mentioned that their processing time is just 35 days. And for the other two, CES and IQAS, the processing time varies from 14 to 16 weeks. So these days, WES is taking typically 2 to 3 months. On the other hand, IQAS and CES are taking 4 to 6 months. Next important point is fee structure. So guys, if I talk about exact fee structure, for WES it is $220 Canadian dollars plus tax. IQAS it is $200 Canadian dollars again plus tax, and for CES is around $200 plus tax. In my opinion, fee structure is really not playing an important role here on how you should decide your ECA, because fee is almost the same, a little bit up and down for any of the organization, but there are various other important parameters that you should consider when you're deciding for your organization that you should go ahead with. Fourth important point is, how will you know that if your university is recognized by this particular organization, ECA body? So guys, first important thing is, none of these organizations have mentioned a list of universities that they recognize when they do your ECA or credential assessment. So if you ask them, they will not give you an answer. So the best way to understand what credential assessments are given for your degree, for your bachelor's or for master's, the best thing is to reach out to your alumni group and you can ask them what credentials are given for your particular university degree. As per my knowledge, WES is quite strict in giving credentials to your degrees. So WES recognizes typically only elite universities when they have to recognize masters, and on the other hand, IQAS and CES are quite generous and they might recognize your university and might recognize your degree also, and accordingly give you the assessment. So if I have to say, I know there are few universities which are not recognized as masters by WES, but they are recognized by CES and IQAS. It's just that the processing time is a little longer. And if you're not someone who's losing points, 5 points or 10 points because of age in next 2 to 3 months, then accordingly you can decide which organization, which ECA body you should go ahead with. So if I talk about my case, my husband had 2-year PGDM degree for MBA in India, but then this degree was not recognized as masters by WES. They recognized it as 2 or more certificates, but on the other hand, when we contacted the other alumni, they told us that IQAS and CES was recognizing their degree, this particular degree, the same degree as an MBA. But it's just that we were losing points and we did not have time in our hand because of the age. My husband would have lost 5 more points in next 2 months, so we went ahead with WES. So this is quite important and it's going to be helpful for you to decide which organization you should go ahead with. Next, how do you decide which ECA body you will go ahead with? I know in between while I was discussing the points, I gave you quite a few hints that if this is your scenario, then you should pick this organization. If this is your scenario, then you should pick the other organization likewise. But in summary, if you have to pick and decide an organization for yourself, how you can do is, if you have done only bachelor's, that is the only degree that you have, then straight away go ahead with WES organization, because WES recognize all bachelor's degree and you will get the credentials accordingly. So it's best to go ahead with WES because the processing time is less. Second point is, if you have done a master's degree which is less than 2 years, so if I talk about PGDM or executive MBA program, these are all certificates or diploma programs. So WES will never recognize these universities, WES will never recognize your degree. But on the other hand, IQAS and CES might give you the credentials for masters. Third is, if you have done your masters which is more than 3 years. So guys, one thing to note here is Canada considers master's degree which is more than 3 years of education. So if you have done a master's which is more than 3 years, then WES will surely recognize your university and give you credentials for that. So accordingly, in summary, if I have to say, if you've done bachelor's, then straight away go ahead with WES. If your master's is less than 2 years, then it's quite risky. And if your master's is more than 3 years, you can still get in touch with your alumni and understand if your degree and organization and university is recognized as proper masters, and you can go ahead with WES or IQAS or CES. So guys, yeah, that's about it. I hope this video was helpful to you and it will help you in taking the right decision which ECA body you should go ahead and get your education certificates assessed. So guys, this ECA is actually quite important because based on what credentials you are getting as recognized by these education assessment bodies, you get your points in your CRS calculation accordingly. So if you want to understand what is the point system calculation for CRS, then I created a video on the same. I'll put the link somewhere on the top. You can go ahead and check that. Before we close, one last tip from my side is ECA plays an important role when you are applying for Canada PR, because whatever credentials you get through these ECA bodies, accordingly your points are calculated. So if you get a recognition as master's degree, that is the maximum point that you get. Of course, for PhD you get more, and if these universities don't recognize your masters, then you get points only for bachelors. So it is very important before you apply for ECA, you look at all these points and accordingly choose an ECA body, and also get in touch with your alumni group so that you are aware what are the credentials for your university and your particular degree, and where will you be standing, what will be your tentative CRS score. And if you have any questions and you're unclear on CRS point calculation system, then I created a video on this. I'll put a link somewhere on the top. You can go ahead and check that out as well. it will make the process a little easier for you. And if you have any questions, then do leave a comment for us. So we'd love to come back to you. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because we create a lot of videos on Canada PR. And if you are someone who's really looking forward to applying for Canada PR, then I think this is the channel for you. So please hit the subscribe button, and if you think the video was helpful to you, then make sure you give it a big fat thumbs up, and also click the bell icon so that you don't miss any video from us. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, you take care, stay safe, goodbye.